We're going to look at a quick guide to anchoring on a small boat. We're going to look at the anchor system, the various anchor types, how much scope to use, setting the anchor and asking, is our anchor holding or are we dragging? So we're going to look at the anchor system. Now the anchor system isn't just the anchor. The anchor system also includes the chain, any rope that we're using. Sometimes it's all chain, sometimes it's a combination of chain and rope, and also the shackles that hold everything together. So here's the sea and here's the seabed. We're going to put an anchor on the seabed, and the other part of the system is the chain. The chain actually holds the anchor down. It's the weight of the chain that actually holds the boat in place. So we want at least 10 meters of chain. A few meters would do on a nice sunny day, but if your engine is broken and you're being pushed on the rocks, you definitely want all that 10 meters of chain. So how much chain and or rope are we going to use altogether? Well, we take the depth of water, and then the total length of chain and rope is going to be at least 5 times the depth of water. So here's some anchors. There's lots of kinds of anchors. We're going to look at some of the popular ones. The first one is the Fisherman's Anchor. This is like you find on the captain's cap badge. This is good for penetrating through weed to find the rock below. It's got that cross which angles it round. Not so good in sand, mud or shingle, and because of the size doesn't store so well. So now let's look at a delta anchor. The delta anchor is one of these modern anchors, got all kind of computer aided design angles and things on it. It's good holding in most conditions. The angled flute actually helps to dig in when the anchor cable changes direction because of change of tide or wind. Not so good to store because of its shape. It's okay in mud and weed, but it's not so good on smooth rock. Here's another one. This is the Granola folding anchor. This is good because it stows into small spaces. It's good for inflatable boats. It's good holding on rocks, but mediocre on everything else. It can be thrown onto a vessel that's on fire, so you can tow that vessel away from the marina or from an anchorage. And it can also be used if you've lost a cable or your friend's lost a chain or something on the seabed. You can trawl it along the seabed. So it's not particularly good all-rounder, but it's okay on jagged rocks. Another anchor is this mushroom anchor. It's called a mushroom anchor because the shape is like a mushroom. This is particularly good for a river that's got a muddy bottom, on the standard river seabed type thing. It doesn't have any sharp edges, so it's less chance of doing any injury to yourself or to the boat. Not so good out at sea on rocky bottoms or in weed. This is one of the scoop anchors. This is the Bruce anchor. This is a good all-rounder, especially good in mud, sand and shingle. Not so good to stow because it's quite a bulky anchor, and it's not so good on smooth rock and weed. It just doesn't penetrate through the weed. Another anchor is the Danforth anchor. It's basically some angled flat plate and it's hinged to the main shaft. This is good for sand, it's good for mud, good for shingle. It stores well because it folds flat. It's very useful on a smaller boat. It's a good all-rounder, not so good on flat rocky bottoms, especially covered in weed. And you need to be careful of your fingers on the hinge system. So let's look about setting the anchor or laying the anchor on the seabed. We need to say to ourselves, where is the wind and where is the tide? Which is the stronger of the two? Once we've worked out what is the resultant or the major factor, we're going to head our boat up towards, in that direction, heading towards the wind or tide, whichever is stronger. So let's look at it on side profile. Here's our boat. We're going to head up towards the wind or tide, nice and slow. Once we got to our anchor position, we're going to carefully lower our anchor onto the seabed. The chain is going to start laying. We need to lay that chain flat along the seabed, not in a big pile. We want at least 10 meters of chain. We may use chain all the way through, or in this case you can see we've got chain and rope combined. The total length is going to be at least 5 times the depth of water. How do we find out if we're holding position or if we're being pushed onto the beach here? So here's the anchor, here's the chain. And what we're going to do is we're going to find 2 objects, and you can see here this island and this island, these 2 islands, they're pretty much in a straight line with our boat. So as long as we keep these 2 in line, we're not going to be moved backwards towards the beach. So here's some quick top tips. Use the right anchor type for the seabed. Use at least 10 meters of chain. Lay the anchor and the cable correctly, not in a big pile. All maneuvers should be slow and controlled. And frequently check to verify that you're not dragging your anchor.